Hello everyone, I am your host Ingrid Thompson and welcome to So You Want to Start a Business episode number 65. Our guest today is Toni Bourne, and Toni runs with her husband an extremely successful bed and breakfast in Broome, which is on the coast of Western Australia.
You know what, the one thing that we have always thought about and tried to make happen in any sort of business idea that we had, we have always done with class and style. And I think that is the one thing that I would recommend or suggest to anyone starting their own business: do it with class and style.
There you go. Do it with class and style, says Toni. And this is the underpinning philosophy, is one of the reasons that their business is so extremely successful. This is a terrific interview, and whatever business you are in or thinking about starting, taking care of customers and clients is what you will do or what you are currently doing. Toni knows how to take great care of their clients and their customers. I suggest you settle in to listen to one really smart business owner give you some tips and ideas for how you might follow in her very successful footsteps. As always, this episode is brought to you by my book with the same name as the podcast, So You Want to Start a Business. There's never any other kind of advertising here. Head over to wherever you buy your books online for the Kindle or the physical book. I'm recording the audio version to come very soon. Want a sneak peek before you buy? Grab an excerpt just to see if it's what you're looking for. Head over to thestartupsteps.com. Anyway, enough from me right now. Let's listen to what Toni has to say about running a business in the remote part of Western Australia. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's take the next step to help you make your business dream a reality. Good morning, and here we are today with Toni Bourne. Good morning, Toni.
Morning, Ingrid. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And you are on the sunny west coast of Australia, and I am on the sunny east coast of Australia.
So we couldn't get further apart if we tried.
We could not. Toni, tell us, what business are you in? What is your business?
Ingrid, my husband and I, we're in the tourist industry, so largely hospitality. And we own and operate a boutique bed and breakfast in sunny Broome in Western Australia.
In lovely Broome in Western Australia, a bed and breakfast. Oh, I think, half our audience are probably thinking what a fantastic business that would be to have.
It is, and it is definitely a lifestyle business. It's something that appealed to us quite a few years ago, and it just had to be the right time to bring that to fruition.
Mm-hmm. So when did you start the business? When did you start it?
We actually officially opened on the 22nd of June 2006. So we've been here 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We started the building process 12 months prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the IG probably came to us back in 2003, I would say, after a trip to Tasmania.
Okay, so long time in the planning, and
yeah, it was a seed that was planted, I guess, and it comes back to why we started the bed and breakfast in the first place, was from having experienced a similar type of accommodation in Tasmania, and then at a point in our lives where we were looking for something new. Both of us were looking for a new career. Richard is a builder by trade, and getting to that age where that was becoming hard work, and I was looking for a challenge. And Broome, being the tourist town that it is, and a growing industry, the demand was there for new accommodation. We knew that from our experience of living here and sort of having a wide network of friends and associates that we, our ear to the ground, and we decided, let's give this a crack. It sort of came together just beautifully, really, in the end. Building beautiful houses was something we knew we were good at, and we both enjoyed meeting new people, and travel was something we both tried to do at every opportunity. So it seemed like the perfect combination, really.
Very nice. So that's kind of your why. So The why for starting it was to career transition, your husband getting to a point where he knew being a builder wasn't going to go on forever. So you knew there was a need to do something different.
That's right.
So what did you actually want from the business from day one? What did you want it to give you?
Well, I won't lie. We wanted to make money. We were still trying to build wealth for our future. And our primary motivation for success was money in the bank. That was our driving force. However, having said that, the business model that we designed had a very considered balance of hard work and lifestyle. But essentially, we wanted to have some control in our lives, in our work lives. So that was what we wanted from our business. Couldn't say that it actually turned out that way, but that was our driving force.
Okay.
We were still at a point in our lives where we were trying to build for our future.
Okay. And can I just get you to say again about the combination of hard work and lifestyle? Could you just say that bit? Because it truly is, isn't it?
Absolutely. I guess there were times when the hard work far outweighed the lifestyle, but I guess now, 12 years down the track, we've probably got that balance swinging the other way, which is perfect.
Which is perfect. Okay. So one of the questions, and this is one of my favourite questions, is because it's such a different point in time for every business. When did this business feel real? When did you go, okay, now we're in business?
Well, that is a very memorable moment, and it's one that we still laugh about today. I'll never forget the day that we received our very first booking. I was at home, and not in this home, in our family home, and I had been developing the business plan for a couple of months. I was already sort of chipping away at it whilst Richard and his team were busy in the building phase. We were literally digging the foundation, so very early start of the building process, and I had already developed a website. We received our very first booking when we weren't even out of the ground. And that booking was only 9 months away. So I'd literally set the timeline.
Yeah.
And I can remember that going, oh my gosh, this is real. We had better open on time.
Wow.
That was the moment that it actually felt very real. So it was gutsy, like we took a huge risk, but we were opening mid-season. We were guaranteed to be able to take bookings from day one, given the nature of the market in Broome at the time in the tourist industry. So we didn't want to miss out on that hit the ground running start. So we took a huge risk, but it paid off.
It paid off. Yeah. So, Toni, just for the audience, because more than half of this audience is not in Australia.
Okay.
So yep. June is the middle of your peak season because...
That's right. So our winter months are our peak season. So in Australia, you think 28 degrees during the day, 10 degrees overnight. You've got these beautiful sunny days with no rain, virtually from April right through to September, is our peak time. And so whilst the rest of Australia is cold, we have beautiful, reliable, sunny, hot days.
Yeah, so it definitely is a winter holiday destination.
It definitely is, yes. Yeah.
So if we think about the customers, and over 12 years you've really learned who they are and what they want, and obviously a B&B is a very niche of part of the tourism. I mean, not everybody wants to come and stay at your style of accommodation. Not everybody wants to come to Broome. Right. Yeah. How did you know that this was going to be successful? How do you know that people still want your product?
I guess you never really know, but research is pretty key in the beginning. We've lived in Broome for many years at that point of starting our business, and we had a really good understanding of the town. We've got friends and associates across all walks of life, and we did heaps of research. We asked lots of questions. We trolled the internet. and we networked to find the answers that we were looking for. But with all of that, even the best laid plan, going into business is risky. And we knew that from experience. We had already been in business before. Our first business we opened when I was 22 years old, back in 1987, knowing nothing. So, you know, we'd brought from that a lot of experience and a lot of know-how. And we also knew that what we were offering was something very different to what was already available in the town. In fact, we were pitching at something that was completely opposite to the accommodation styles that were already present in Broome, which was largely the resort experience. We basically just put our faith in ourselves and set out to do the best we could.
Yeah, and it's obviously paid off very nicely for you. Just out of interest, how many guests can you take altogether?
We can take now, having modified things a little bit, we can now take 8 guests. So we have 4 guest rooms. So it is very, it's an intimate setting. It's quite personalised and it's exclusive in that way that it's only 8 people, and we're mostly set up for couples or travelling companions and the corporate market. So no families. Resorts do families really, really well. We wanted to provide something very different.
Nice. So that's another niche as well, is that it's for couples and corporate and travelling people.
Yeah, I would say that.
And not families.
Our rooms only sleep 2, so that narrows things down again in terms of the market that we're aiming at. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. So building a B&B obviously takes a considerable amount of funds. Now, you've referred to, you know, the fact that you were wanting to set something up that would make money, that would give you a financial future. Well, you don't have to go into lots of detail about how much and things, but how did you fund this? Like, where did that money come from?
Okay, so I guess we to fund the business, we basically had to sell an investment property that we had. We also invested capital from our family home, and then we approached the bank for the shortfall. So it was a bit of a scraping together of our life worth to make it happen. And obviously when you're approaching banks, you have to go with a solid business plan. That was something I'd never done before. So that was an interesting experience. But off we went with our business plan. And back in the day, they were throwing money at you, really, if you could come up with a good plan, and we did, and we had the runs on the board with our experience previously. So that was basically how we funded it.
Yeah, and it's a huge commitment, isn't it? Because it's a lot of money to build something like that, and you know, as you said, the banks were good and generous, but you know, you still had to pay back that loan, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But like anything, or anything we've ever pursued before in business, we've always had a plan B. So this was our plan A. We presented it to the bank. We had predictions for income, expenditure in place. But if that didn't work, we had an exit plan. So we had a strategy in place for what we would do, and I think that is really important as well.
Yeah, having a plan B,
having
indeed.
A plan B. Sometimes it goes to C and D, but you know.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so you found your first customer, and that's how you knew you were in business. So what are some of the ways that you find customers now?
Look, our repeat guests, to be honest, are our best form of advertising.
Yes.
They do some amazing work for us. We have a high percentage of repeat and referral clientele. So that is the best compliment you can receive in business is a really promising or positive review.
Yeah.
We always ask our guests in the booking phase how they found out about us, so we like to sort of monitor that. and TripAdvisor and review sites like booking.com are really good to us. We get a lot of a business that comes directly from those sites. And something else that's really changed over the years is social media. It's grown exponentially. It's just something that I didn't even know about 12 years ago. BroomeTown B&B has a Facebook and an Instagram page or profile, and that provides a really great platform for promoting the business and generating new clientele. Can be a bit time consuming at times, posting new content and trying to keep it interesting and monitoring those sites, but definitely it seems to be the way to get the word out these days, obviously apart from your repeat guests.
Well, and I think for something like yours, which is such a visual, you know, for people to be able to see how beautiful the weather is now, you know, if we're sitting in freezing cold Melbourne with, you know, rain, at, you know, that idea that you could be sitting in your swimsuit and, you know, having your breakfast in the sun with just a t-shirt on or something, like the visual is so important.
That is right, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just going to remind people listening that we are actually talking to you in Broome, which is fairly remote, and Australia hasn't always got the best internet. We're getting a bit of interference with your voice a little bit. I'm just going to apologise for that, but I am going to persist because I think the rest of your story is still pretty good. So we're getting a little bit of kind of background noise there, so I'm not sure what that is. So Toni, I'm just going to ask you now about the process you use for deciding a pricing strategy. So, you know, how did you know where to pitch yourself against the resorts or against the other available accommodation?
Pretty much just research again. We researched our competitors and structured our pricing to be competitive, especially for that first year. We actually came in just a little bit under where we wanted to be, but we wanted to sort of hit the ground running. We constantly monitor our pricing along with the demand, and we always review what's on offer elsewhere in order to set our last minute rates. And it all comes back down to supply and demand, really.
Yeah. So is there different prices at different times of the year?
Yeah, absolutely, Ingrid. So our wet season is, which is not overly desirable to come up here, but if it's a fly in and flop kind of guest, well then laying around the pool and having an air conditioned room isn't so bad. But our rates are much lower over the wet season.
Yeah, but when we say wet season, it just rains all the time. It's not exactly.
It doesn't rain so much all the time. It's just very humid.
Very hot.
Hot. Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is about exit strategy, and do you want to tell us about your exit strategy?
Yeah, timing seems quite perfect, really. To begin with, we never expected to be here 12 years. It's amazing the journey that we've been on. We thought this was going to be something short-lived. However, the longer we've been here, the more we've enjoyed it, and it's just evolved. But last year, we decided we wanted a gap year. So we employed a manager couple to come into our business through a 12-month trial, just to see how they would go, how the business would cope with a manager, and then whether we, again for us, whether travel and long-term travel was something that we wanted, which is what we ended up doing. So with an extensive training period and a thorough procedure manual all set up in place, we stepped away from our business for 12 months just to see how things would go. The results were really interesting. Whilst our manager couple did an amazing job at the business and our guests clearly loved them, which was evident in the reviews that we received, we discovered that beyond 12 months, the property from a maintenance point of view needed us back for some much needed sprucing up. So moving forward, we decided that we would employ a manager again, but we would need to return for annual maintenance. However, we've decided that we're going to sell, so we have our business on the market. So yeah, it's an emotional time.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of heart and soul into this, but we feel as though there's still more of a story to be told here, and it needs some new blood.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? That idea that in the 12 months it just needs some attention,
Yes.
that only you can give it, only you as the
Absolutely.
owners can give it. Yeah,
That's
and I
right.
think that's true for so many businesses. You know, a lot of businesses, we talk about being hands off and we talk about scaling so we don't have to be as involved. The business shows there's a period of time where at some point it shows that the owner's not involved anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an important point, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so well, good luck with that.
Thank you. Thanks, Ingrid.
Yeah. So what's one thing, if you go back to the beginning and you had already had businesses in the past, so you had, you, as you said, you were really well set up for taking this on. Is there something you wish you'd done differently?
You know what? We've talked about this a lot, but we wouldn't change a thing. There's nothing that we really wished we'd done differently, because with every failure, there's an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
We love what we've created, and the journey that's unfolded, in both good and bad, has been incredible. So no, we wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, and then my next question, which is a little bit different, is there something you wish you'd known from the start?
Yeah, I guess, to be honest, the one thing that we wished we'd known from the start was that we wouldn't build wealth in this business. That was our goal in the beginning. It turns out that wasn't going to happen. The reward has been so different to what we expected. The networking opportunities, the lifestyle, making new friends from all over the world and from all walks of life, the travel opportunities that have unfolded, and the reward that we get from happy guests was totally unexpected. So I guess that's what we wish we'd known from the start. But again, we wouldn't have changed a thing. It's just an incredible journey, really.
Well, and I think that's such a testament to your whole philosophy of customer service and wanting to create something that is meaningful for people.
Yes.
That then you get that reward from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think when people
do.
it's such an interesting point, Toni, because when people go into business, to actually do something that they truly love for the people that are going to use it. We talk about, solving a problem and creating value. I mean, you create incredible value for your guests, and you solve a problem because you solve a destination for people who want the particular thing that you offer.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different experience to the resorts.
Yeah.
And so your reward, while you said, you haven't built a phenomenal wealth, the wealth and intrinsic to yourself it's priceless, isn't it?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And that's a lesson we've learned in this business. So it's been a very humbling time, to be honest.
I think that's such a lovely part of your story, actually. And that said, you have won incredible awards. So I encourage anyone who's listening to jump on the website. Just remind us the website, please, Toni.
www.BroomeTown, which is our business name, broometown.com.au.
And Broome has an E on the end of it, so it's BroomeTown, isn't it? Yes, not
Yeah.
Broome. Yes, it's the same broom as sweeping the broom, but it's got an E on the end. And when you go onto that site, you've got awards for year after year for customer excellence, for tourism excellence. Yeah, so you really have shone in your area.
Yeah, we did set out to be leaders in this industry, and I'm pretty happy to say we've achieved that.
Yeah, and you can be very proud of that. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So now, clearly, you and your husband are in this together, but is there anybody else who has been of greatest assistance to you in the business? Who are the...
Yeah, without a doubt. Firstly, I couldn't have done this without my husband. We are a really good team, and we work really well together. So whether that business partner that you have is a partner or an associate, I think in business having a really good working relationship is really important. We do argue at times about who is the boss, but we usually get through that. We take turns. But apart from my husband, our accountant, who has given us has trained us and provided education in accounting software, registering for GST, preparing a BAS, creating budgets, tax advice. You can't go into business without knowing that stuff. So our accountant has been with us right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And also our bank manager, funnily enough. So every decision we make in business should involve these two people.
Yeah.
We also tapped into the resources from our local small business centre, which was really good for startup information. Things like registering a business name. I mean, if you've never done this stuff before, there's a lot to know. You know, we had to register a business name. We had to apply for an ABM. There were legal obligations. We had to create a business plan. We needed to know something about marketing. There's so many things you need to know. And if you've never been in business before, you have to know these things pretty quickly.
And all at the same time too.
Exactly. And there's so many short courses that small business centres can provide for you along the way in terms of social media, customer service, and things are always changing. So we find that we're constantly learning.
Yep. Fantastic. And as you said, 12 years ago, social media isn't what it was now.
No.
Wasn't what it is now. And, you know, it's such a different landscape. And who knows in 5 years' time what it'll all be like anyway.
That's right. Absolutely. You really have to evolve.
Indeed. Toni, who gives you really good feedback?
Oh, without a doubt, our guests. And other accommodation operators. We've developed really good relations with other B&B operators in Broome. In fact, we probably initiated that from the beginning, where we would get together maybe once a month and have little networking gatherings, and we'd share ideas, problem solve, and have a really good laugh about things that had sort of unfolded in our little businesses. And but yeah, our guests provide probably the best feedback, and we use that as we always, it's constructive, you know, ways to improve. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing that you have to actually get together with the other B&B owners in Broome, because there could be a temptation for people to not do that.
Yeah, well, look, for us, you know, there's enough to go around for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we can get together and actually help each other, and as a group can improve the status of B&Bs for Broome. And I think it just helps to build if we come together as a group. So we really enjoy those gatherings. And if we can't help a guest because we're full, well, then we know what other operators are out there. We've visited their properties. We can recommend, you know, honestly and openly what else is available in town.
Yeah, and I love what you said there about there's more than enough for everybody, because there is, you know.
Yes, for sure.
You know, that pie just keeps going. There's more than enough for everybody. Yeah,
absolutely.
So someone comes to you and says they're thinking about starting their own business. What would you say to them?
You know what? The one thing that we have always thought about and tried to make happen with any sort of business idea that we had, we have always done with class and style. And I think that is the one thing that I would recommend or suggest to anyone starting their own business: do it with class and style. Probably not what you would have expected me to say, but I think you can, if you think about that, it covers a lot of different aspects of starting your own business. Obviously, there's a lot more I could add. That's the one thing, the starting point. But I think research is also really important in researching your product and idea, and is it in demand. You have to be able to work hard and want to work hard. And I think I mentioned this before, you have to be prepared to evolve. The business world has highs and lows, and you have to be prepared for a changing market. But for us, everything comes back to class and style.
Class and style. Very, very nice. Yeah. So what 3 characteristics do you have that's made you successful? And, you know, most of the listeners listening, if you're thinking back through the answers that Toni has given, we can probably come up with a couple of those ourselves. Because one of the things that I find in these interviews that as we listen to a story, we start to get a sense of who the person is. But what do you think your 3 characteristics are?
Well, I had to ask people about this. So the 3 characteristics that I agreed with these 3 to be success that I think that I have that's made me successful in business is being personable for a start, particularly in this industry. You have to have that personality that just is warm and open. And, you know, if you enjoy what you do, it really, really shows. And the other thing is, I would say, paying attention to detail. Quite often it's the little things that you do that that can be so easily overlooked but can make the biggest difference to a guest experience. So paying attention to detail, remembering, you know, for example, remembering somebody's names, or if it's a special occasion, you know, putting something special in their room, you know, really listening to what they're saying and giving tips to restaurants. You know, it's just the little things that make all the difference. We go to great pains to set rooms out in a way that show that we're paying attention to detail. So, yeah, that would be my 3 things anyway. Being personable, paying attention to detail, and loving what I do.
Very, very nice. And the class, that combined with the class and style is why your business has been so successful. And lots of hard work, as you said. Okay. So are those the sorts of characteristics that you think someone aspiring to be a startup need? Or do you think that, you know, somebody...
I think just to cross all sort of businesses rather than just say the hospitality industry or the tourist industry, I would say the 3 characteristics that are essential for the budding startup would be, first of all, and a lot of people will say this and agree with this, is a passion for the business idea. You really have to believe in it and be passionate about that idea that you have.
Yeah.
But the other thing that is super important is self-discipline. If you're going to business for yourself, you have to be incredibly self-disciplined and you have to have an excellent work ethic. They would be the 3 things that I would say for anybody that is out there that's thinking about going into business. Really consider those characteristics and do you have those qualities?
Yeah, because the work ethic is if it's missing, it can really derail, can't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Toni, thank you so much. It's breakfast time for you guys over there. And have you got a full house overnight?
Yes, we do.
A full house. So,
yes. And it's a little chilly here this morning. It's about 7 degrees, which
oh my gosh,
I'm here in my slippers. So that's very unusual.
So for those that are in the Northern Hemisphere, 7 7 is 14, 30. That's about 45 degrees, isn't it, in Fahrenheit?
Oh,
You're a Celsius girl.
I'm too young to know that.
Oh, in the old days we used to do, because I actually was a Fahrenheit, like I grew up in the Fahrenheit era. I think we used to double it and add 30, so 7 7 14. So that's about 45. But that's still, well, it's 4 degrees here in Sydney this morning, which was pretty scary. So thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on all your awards.
Thanks, Ingrid.
If I was coming to Broome, I know exactly where I would be coming to. It's one of those remote places that you just have to make the effort to get to, I think, in Australia, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very unique destination. I guarantee there'll be nowhere that you visit in Australia that will leave the impression that Broome does. It's a surprisingly very cosmopolitan town for a very remote small community. But the landscape and the beauty here and the colours of Broome will just stay with you forever.
Well, and I can attest to that because I have actually been to Broome. and I'm just thinking it was probably in the late 90s.
Oh, wow.
So around about the time you guys were building probably. And I will never forget some of the experiences from there. Now, just remind us, is it purely tourism or is it the opals, the pearls?
Pearls. Look, there's quite a few industries up here that Broome sort of is growing on the back of. The pearling industry is what really got Broome on the map.
Yes.
And that was more from a farming commercial point of view. But over time, it's become quite the tourist industry as well. So the pearling industry has diversified into tourism. And so, the pearling industry is massive. Broome and the Broome waters produce the best pearls in the world. So the South Sea pearls are beautiful, and you won't find a better place to have a look at an incredible range. So don't think grandma's little set of pearls that are around her neck. Think bigger and beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
Really
There's a beautiful pearl shop in Sydney that's in one of the old bank buildings, and just to make myself feel better, I love going in and looking at them. And, they're like cherries. They're pearls are just exquisite, aren't they?
Yes.
All right. So I encourage everybody listening to get your map out and figure out where Broome is, at least. Toni, thanks so much for your time. Is there anything else that we haven't covered or that you would like to say? Because the people listening are either thinking about starting a business or they're in that early stage, or maybe they're just listening. Is there anything you'd like to finish with?
The only thing that may be unique to businesses in remote locations is that the seasonal aspect of what we do can be very challenging, and you will find that in other areas around Australia and around the world, in fact. But 90% of our business comes to us between April and November, and we have to be super disciplined to carry ourselves through the quieter months, which are December and March. We have to make our money when through the peak season, and then carry ourselves over the wet. So the bills don't stop. There's still a mortgage to pay. So I think the cost of living, the housing costs, insurance costs in a remote location really add to the challenges of a small business in these locations. And then anywhere where you've got that seasonal aspect, it comes back to that being self-disciplined and being able to sort of carry yourself over that time. So I think that's worth mentioning. But no, other than that, thank you very much for having me, Ingrid. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And I think that goes to you. Like, I'm just going to pick up on that. Actually, maybe I'll just do that in my outgoing part of the conversation, because that 4 months that you're talking about there, where the income really reduces, that has to be built into your pricing strategy. So it's such an important point. Yeah. And I was just talking to somebody recently whose product is a seasonal product. So and there's, winter, there is no demand for her product, or very little demand.
That's right. Yes.
And so, that's, it can be either way, can't it? So,
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, go make coffee for your guests. Get them some breakfast. What's on the menu this morning for breakfast?
Sorry, I missed that.
What's on the menu for breakfast this morning?
Look, we provide a really nice continental breakfast.
Oh.
So we've got some lovely tropical fruits out there, some cereals, bread tin, beautifully brewed Kimberley coffee, which surprisingly enough, we have a roaster in town that sources beans from all over the world and makes some incredible blends. So
there you go.
Kimberley coffee is definitely on the menu.
Well, I guess you'll be needing one of those as well. Toni, thanks a million. And my guests, thank you. My listeners, thank you as well.
Thanks, Ingrid.
Thanks for listening. How terrific was this conversation? There's so many business tips for every business, every type of business. The research they did before they committed to getting started. Being ready to take bookings long before the building was finished. In fact, back when they were still laying the foundations. and being part of the community and working with the other B&B owners. It's so easy when we're in business to feel like everything and everyone is competition. And that just wasn't Toni's approach. And you can hear how she used that to actually really benefit her business. There's so many other points, including the great class and style comment. So what was your number one tip or aha in this interview? As always, you can find a full transcript over at my website, healthynumbers.com.au, with all the links and show notes and more information about Toni. Before you go, let me ask you, do you crave the actionable steps to help you get started? What to do next? A checklist for what to do? Are you looking for someone who truly gets what it's like to actually start a business? Someone who knows what to do and when to help you get your business off the ground? Then head over to my website, healthynumbers.com.au, where you'll find the business checklist ready to download so you can avoid the common mistakes so many others make when getting started in business. There's a quiz on the website that you can take to see how business ready you are to get started with your own business. I use this quiz and the checklist with my clients, and the feedback has been terrific. So I want to share those with you. What are you waiting for? Jump onto my website, healthynumbers.com.au, download the checklist, take the quiz, and start building that business of your dreams today. As always, we say ideas without action. Well, they're just that, they're ideas. What actions are you inspired to take today? Till the next time, thanks for listening.